Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun!
A chaotic reflection stared back at Finn from the bathroom mirror, his image distorted amidst the mayhem. His legs, akin to a post-war battleground, were littered with remnants of tissue paper, each marking a casualty of his battle with the razor. It was a losing battle, as evidenced by the multitude of nicks and cuts covering his skin. He shook his head, scrutinizing the disaster area that was his body and the bathroom. Sinks often saw their fair share of hair, but the extent to which this one was clogged was extraordinary. The counter was another victim, painted with shaving cream like a modern art piece. "Watch me." Now, as he stood surrounded by the aftermath of his grooming attempt, he was beginning to regret his bravado. But he was in too deep to quit now. With a deep breath, Finn reached for the costume hanging on the back of the bathroom door. The pleated blue skirt felt impossibly short in his hands, the white top emblazoned with the college logo looking far too small for his frame.
"Here goes nothing,"
he mumbled, stepping into the skirt and pulling it up over his hips. It sat snugly on his waist, the hem barely reaching mid-thigh. The top was next, stretching across his chest and shoulders in a way that made him acutely aware of every breath. Finn turned to face the mirror, hardly recognizing the person staring back at him. The blonde hair he usually kept short and messy now fell in soft waves around his face, courtesy of some hastily applied mousse and a borrowed curling iron. His legs, now smooth and gleaming, seemed to go on forever below the tiny skirt.
"Holy shit,"
he whispered, running a hand down his thigh. The sensation was entirely new, the skin soft and sensitive under his palm. Despite the discomfort of shaving, there was something oddly satisfying about the smoothness. A knock at the door made him jump.
"Finn, you alive in there, man?"
Tyler's voice called out.
"Yeah, just give me a minute,"
Finn replied, his voice cracking slightly. He cleared his throat, trying again in a higher pitch.
"I mean, I'll be right out."
Tyler's laughter echoed through the door.
"Dude, are you seriously going through with this?"
Instead of answering, Finn took a deep breath and opened the door. Tyler's jaw dropped, his eyes widening as he took in the sight before him.
"Holy Finn?"
Tyler blinked rapidly, as if not quite believing what he was seeing.
"Is that really you?"
Finn shifted uncomfortably, tugging at the hem of the skirt.
"Yeah, it's me. Happy now?"
Tyler circled him slowly, shaking his head in disbelief.
"Man, I didn't think you'd actually do it. You look different."
"Different good or different bad?" Finn asked, surprising himself with how much he cared about the answer. Tyler shrugged, a grin spreading across his face.
"Different good, I guess. You might actually pull this off."
Finn felt a warmth spread through his chest at the compliment. He struck a pose, one hand on his hip, the other behind his head.
"Well, what do you think? Am I cheerleader material?"
Tyler burst out laughing. Okay, don't push it. But seriously, you need a name. We can't call you Finn while you're dressed like that." Finn thought for a moment.
"How about
Daphne?"
"Daphne,"
Tyler repeated, nodding approvingly.
"I like it. All right, Daphne, you ready to hit this party?"
Finn, or rather Daphne, took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." The walk across campus to the party was an exercise in self-consciousness. Every step Daphne took made her acutely aware of the skirt swishing against her thighs, the cool night air on her newly smooth legs. She found herself taking smaller steps, her hips swaying slightly to keep her balance in the unfamiliar shoes.
"You're attracting some attention,"
Tyler muttered, nodding towards a group of guys who were openly staring as they passed. Daphne felt her cheeks flush. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Tyler shrugged.
"Depends on how you look at it. They definitely think you're a girl, if that's what you're wondering."
The realization sent a strange thrill through Daphne. She straightened her posture, letting her hips sway a bit more deliberately. If she was going to do this, she might as well commit fully. As they approached the house where the party was being held, the bass of the music could be felt through the sidewalk. Lights flashed in the windows, and the sounds of laughter and conversation spilled out onto the lawn. Daphne hesitated at the bottom of the porch steps. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea, she said, tugging nervously at her skirt. Tyler put a hand on her shoulder. Hey, you've come this far. Might as well see it through, right? Besides, you look great. No one will even know it's you. Taking a deep breath, Daphne nodded. You're right. Let's do this. They pushed through the front door into a sea of costumes and bodies. The music was deafening, the air thick with the smell of beer and sweat. Daphne felt eyes on her immediately, and she fought the urge to cross her arms over her chest. Daphne! A voice called out over the music. A girl in a cat costume was waving enthusiastically from across the room. Daphne froze, panic rising in her chest. Tyler! She hissed. Who is that? How does she know my name? Tyler laughed. Relax, it's just Amy. My girlfriend, remember? The one who lent us the costume? I told her you were coming. Before Daphne could respond, Amy had made her way through the crowd. Oh my God, you look amazing! She squealed, pulling Daphne into a hug. I can't believe how good you look in my uniform. It fits you perfectly. Daphne awkwardly returned the hug, still not used to the feeling of the costume against her skin. Thanks, Amy. I hope you don't mind me borrowing it. Amy waved her hand dismissively. Are you kidding? This is the best thing ever. Come on, let me introduce you to everyone. Before she could protest, Daphne found herself being pulled through the crowd. Amy introduced her to what felt like dozens of people, all of whom seemed genuinely impressed by her costume. This is Daphne, Amy would say. Isn't she gorgeous? And to Daphne's surprise, people agreed. Compliments flowed freely, and she found herself relaxing into the role. She started to enjoy the way people looked at her, the attention she was getting. It was so different from how people usually treated Finn. As the night wore on, Daphne found herself on the makeshift dance floor. The music pulsed through her body, and she let herself move with it. Her hips swayed, her arms raised above her head, the skirt twirling around her thighs. She felt free, uninhibited in a way she never had before. A hand touched her waist, and she turned to find a tall guy in a football uniform smiling down at her. Hey there, he said, leaning in close to be heard over the music. I'm Josh. Want to dance? For a moment, Daphne hesitated. This wasn't part of the dare, but something in Josh's smile, the warmth in his eyes, made her nod. I'm Daphne, she shouted back, allowing him to pull her closer. They danced together, Josh's hands on her waist, her arms around his neck. Daphne could feel the heat of his body, smell his cologne. It was intoxicating, this new way of interacting with someone. As the song ended, Josh leaned down.
Want to get some air?
He asked, his breath warm against her ear. Daphne nodded, letting him lead her through the crowd and out onto the back porch. The cool night air was a relief after the stuffy heat of the party.
So, Daphne,
Josh said, leaning against the railing.
I haven't seen you around campus before. Are you new here?
Daphne's heart raced. She hadn't prepared for conversations like this. I'm just visiting, she stammered. A friend of a friend, you know? Josh nodded, seemingly satisfied with the answer. Well, I'm glad you came. You're easily the most beautiful girl at this party. The compliment sent a rush of warmth through Daphne. She knew she should correct him, explain the truth, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she found herself smiling, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. Thank you, she said softly. You're not so bad yourself. Josh grinned, stepping closer. You know, there's this great coffee shop just off campus. Maybe we could grab a cup tomorrow? I'd love to get to know you better. Daphne's mind raced. This had gone too far. She knew that, but part of her, a part she hadn't even known existed until tonight, wanted to say yes, wanted to see where this could go. Before she could respond, Tyler's voice cut through the night. Daphne, there you are. We need to head out. Relief and disappointment warred in Daphne's chest. She turned to Josh with an apologetic smile. I'm sorry I have to go. It was nice meeting you, Josh. Josh looked disappointed, but nodded. Can I at least get your number? Daphne hesitated, then shook her head. I'm sorry. I can't. Goodbye, Josh. She hurried over to Tyler, who was watching the exchange with raised eyebrows. Having fun? He asked, as they made their way back through the party. Daphne sighed. I don't know. Maybe too much fun. The walk back to their dorm was quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. As they reached their room, Tyler turned to Daphne. So, I'd say you won the dare. How does it feel? Daphne looked down at herself, at the costume she'd worn all night, at the smooth legs that still felt foreign and exciting. Honestly, I'm not sure. It feels complicated. Tyler nodded, understanding in his eyes. Well, you pulled it off. No one suspected a thing. You made a pretty convincing girl, Finn. The use of his real name snapped Daphne, no, Finn, back to reality. He was Finn again, wasn't he? The night was over, the dare completed. So why did he feel a twinge of sadness at the thought? I should probably change, Finn said, grabbing some clothes and heading for the bathroom. Once alone, Finn stared at his reflection in the mirror. The blonde waves framed a face that looked softer somehow, more feminine. The cheerleader uniform hugged curves he'd never noticed before. For a moment, he let himself imagine what it would be like to stay like this, to be Daphne, not just for a night, but always. Shaking his head to clear the thoughts, Finn began to change. As he pulled on his usual jeans and t-shirt, he felt a sense of loss. The smooth skin of his legs felt odd against the rough denim. When he emerged from the bathroom, Tyler was already in bed, scrolling through his phone. He looked up as Finn entered.
Hey man, you okay?
Finn nodded, climbing into his own bed. Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking. About what? Finn was quiet for a long moment. Do you ever wonder what it would be like to be someone else? Not just for a night, but for real? Tyler set his phone down, turning to face Finn.
Is this about tonight? About being Daphne?
Finn shrugged, not meeting Tyler's eyes.
Maybe. I don't know. It just felt different. Good different, I think.
Tyler was silent for a while, considering his words carefully. You know, Finn, if this is something you want to explore more, that's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Finn looked up, surprised by the understanding in Tyler's voice. You wouldn't think it was weird? Tyler smiled. Dude, you're my best friend. If being Daphne makes you happy, then I'm happy for you. Simple as that. A weight Finn hadn't even realized he'd been carrying lifted from his chest. Thanks, Tyler. I don't know what this means yet, but it means a lot to hear you say that. Tyler reached over, punching Finn lightly on the arm. That's what friends are for, man. Now get some sleep. We can talk more in the morning if you want. As Finn settled into bed, his mind raced with possibilities. The night had started as a dare, a joke, but it had awakened something in him, something he couldn't ignore. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. Daphne's story wasn't over. It was just beginning. The next morning, Finn woke to the sound of his alarm blaring. He groaned, reaching out to silence the incessant noise. As consciousness slowly returned, memories of the previous night flooded back. The party, the costume, being Daphne. It all felt like a dream. Sitting up, Finn's legs brushed against the sheets, and he was reminded of their newfound smoothness. He ran a hand down his thigh, marveling at the sensation. It was real. It had all been real.
Morning, Sleeping Beauty.
Tyler's voice called from across the room. He was already up and dressed, gathering books for his first class. Finn felt his cheeks flush at the nickname. Morning, he mumbled, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. Tyler paused, studying his roommate. So, how are you feeling today? The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Finn took a deep breath, considering his answer carefully. Honestly, I'm not sure. Last night was intense. Tyler nodded, sitting down on his own bed to face Finn. Want to talk about it? Finn ran a hand through his blonde hair, which was still wavy from the previous night's styling. I don't even know where to start. It's like, for one night, I got to be someone else, someone confident, someone who turned heads, and now I'm just me again. And is that a bad thing? Tyler asked gently. Finn shrugged. I don't know. I've never questioned who I am before, but being Daphne, it felt right in a way I can't explain. Tyler was quiet for a moment, processing this. You know, Finn, identity isn't always a simple thing. It's okay to explore, to question, and whatever you discover about yourself, I've got your back. Finn felt a lump form in his throat, touched by his friend's unwavering support. Thanks, Tyler. That means more than you know. Tyler stood, grabbing his backpack. Any time, man. Now, I've got to run to class. But hey, if you want to talk more later, or if you want help figuring things out, I'm here. As Tyler left, Finn was left alone with his thoughts. He stood, walking over to the full-length mirror on the back of their door. His reflection stared back at him. Tousled blonde hair, sleep-creased face, oversized t-shirt hanging off his frame. But now, he could see something else too. A hint of Daphne, lurking just beneath the surface. Making a sudden decision, Finn reached for his phone. He hesitated for just a moment before dialing Amy's number. Hello? Amy's voice answered, sounding groggy. Hey, Amy. It's Finn. I was wondering if you had some time to talk today. About last night. About Daphne. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Amy's voice came back, sounding more alert. Of course, Finn. Why don't you come over to my dorm around lunchtime? We can talk then. Finn felt a mix of relief and nervousness wash over him.
Thanks, Amy. I'll see you then.
The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Finn went through the motions of getting ready for the day, his mind preoccupied with thoughts of the previous night and the conversation to come. He found himself paying extra attention to his appearance, spending more time than usual on his hair and choosing his clothes with care. As lunchtime approached, Finn made his way across campus to Amy's dorm. Each step felt momentous, like he was walking towards a turning point in his life. He knocked on her door, heart pounding. Amy opened the door with a warm smile. Hey, Finn. Come on in. Finn stepped inside, immediately noticing the cheerleader uniform hanging neatly on the back of Amy's closet door. The sight of it sent a jolt through him, memories of the previous night rushing back. Amy followed his gaze. So, she said, sitting down on her bed and patting the space next to her. You wanted to talk about last night? Finn sat down, hands fidgeting in his lap. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to start. Amy reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. How about you start by telling me how you felt last night? As Daphne. Finn took a deep breath, the words tumbling out. It was amazing, Amy. I felt free, confident, like I could be anyone I wanted to be. And the way people looked at me, talked to me, it was so different from how they usually see me. Amy nodded encouragingly. And how do you feel now, thinking back on it? Confused, Finn admitted. Part of me wants to dismiss it as just a costume, just playing a role for a night. But another part of me feels like maybe Daphne isn't just a costume. Like maybe she's a part of me I never knew existed. Amy was quiet for a moment, considering her words carefully. Finn, have you ever thought about gender identity before? About whether you might be transgender or non-binary? Finn shook his head. Honestly? No. I mean, I've always known those things exist, but I never thought they applied to me. But now, I don't know. Is it possible to not know something like that about yourself for so long? Amy smiled softly. Absolutely. Everyone's journey is different, Finn. Some people know from a very young age, others don't figure it out until much later in life. There's no right or wrong way to discover your identity. Finn felt a weight lift from his shoulders at Amy's words.
So, what do I do now?
Well, Amy said, that's entirely up to you. You could start by experimenting more with feminine presentation. See how it feels. There are also support groups on campus for people questioning their gender identity. And of course, if you want to talk to a professional, the Counseling Center has resources for LGBTQ+ students. Finn nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. I think I'd like to try presenting as Daphne again. Not at a party this time, just in a more normal setting, to see how it feels. Amy's face lit up. I'd be happy to help with that. We could have a girls' day. Do your makeup, style your hair, pick out an outfit.
Only if you want to, of course.
Finn felt a smile spread across his face, the first genuine one since the party.
I'd like that, Amy. Thank you.
Amy pulled him into a hug. Any time, Finn. Or should I say, Daphne? Finn laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in a long time.
Let's stick with Finn for now, at least until I figure things out a bit more.
As he left Amy's room, Finn felt a sense of possibility he'd never experienced before. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, that uncertainty felt exciting rather than scary. He didn't know exactly who he was yet, but he was looking forward to finding out. Over the next few weeks, Finn found himself on a journey of self-discovery. With Amy's help, he began to explore his feminine side more openly. They had their girls' day as promised, and Finn, or Daphne, as he was starting to think of his feminine self, emerged with perfectly applied makeup, styled blonde hair, and an outfit that made him feel both comfortable and confident. Tyler, true to his word, was supportive every step of the way. He offered encouragement when Finn was feeling unsure, and stood up for him when others made insensitive comments. Finn was grateful beyond words for his friend's unwavering support. As Finn became more comfortable presenting as Daphne, he started to do so more frequently. At first, it was just in the privacy of his dorm room, or Amy's, but gradually, he began to venture out. A quick trip to the campus store, a walk in the park. Each outing as Daphne felt like a small victory, a step towards understanding himself better. One sunny afternoon, about a month after the party, Finn found himself sitting in the campus coffee shop. He was dressed as Daphne, wearing a simple blue sundress that Amy had helped him pick out. His blonde hair fell in soft waves around his face, and he'd applied light makeup that morning with a steadier hand than he'd had weeks ago. As he sipped his latte, lost in thought, a familiar voice broke through his reverie.
Daphne?
Finn looked up to see Josh, the guy from the party, standing by his table. His heart raced, a mix of panic and excitement flooding through him.
Oh, hi, Josh,
he said, his voice higher than usual, the way he'd practiced speaking as Daphne. Josh's face lit up with a smile.
I can't believe it's you! I thought you were just visiting for the party. Are you a student here now?
Finn hesitated, realizing he had a choice to make. He could make up another story, continue the charade. Or he could be honest. Taking a deep breath, he made his decision.
Actually, Josh, there's something I need to tell you. Can you sit down for a minute?
Josh looked confused, but nodded, sliding into the seat across from Finn.
The truth is,
Finn began, his heart pounding.
My name isn't really Daphne. It's Finn, the night of the party. I was exploring my gender identity. I'm still figuring things out, but I think I might be transgender.
Josh was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Finn held his breath, waiting for a reaction. Finally, Josh spoke.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. But thank you for being honest with me, Finn. Or, do you prefer Daphne?
Finn felt a rush of relief at Josh's calm response.
I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Josh nodded, a small smile appearing on his face.
Well, whatever name you choose, whatever identity feels right to you. I think you're pretty amazing, and I'd still like to get to know you better if you're open to that.
Finn felt a warmth spread through his chest.
I'd like that too, Josh. Thank you for being so understanding.
As they continued to talk, Finn felt a sense of peace settle over him. He didn't have all the answers yet. He wasn't sure if he was fully transgender or non-binary or something else entirely, but he knew he was on the right path. He was discovering himself, piece by piece, day by day. The journey ahead would likely be challenging at times. There would be difficult conversations, moments of doubt, and obstacles to overcome. But Finn knew he wouldn't be facing them alone. He had Tyler's unwavering friendship, Amy's enthusiastic support, and now, potentially, Josh's acceptance and interest. As the afternoon sun streamed through the coffee shop window, illuminating Finn's blonde hair and casting a warm glow over the scene, he felt a sense of hope and excitement for the future. Whatever lay ahead, whatever identity he ultimately embraced, Finn knew one thing for certain. He was finally on the path to becoming his true self. And that, more than anything, felt like victory.
Thanks for watching, my girlies. Be sure to check out Patreon for more.